would you say regarding something like the 1-inch punch? Is that something?
That's interesting. That's a kind of a combination. It'll work, right? You can take a phone book and you can learn how to do it, but it's really more of a push, and it's not something that I would consider functional in the sense of you'd be able to apply it in a fight. It was a cool demonstration, though. I will say this for Bruce Lee. What Bruce Lee did was, prior to Bruce Lee, most of the martial arts were derived from Chinese Kung Fu, which was really a form of Chinese opera. And it's dancing and it's very cool, but it had nothing to do with fighting. And Bruce Lee brought boxing in. So if you look at his movies, he's boxing, and he would train with Thai boxers, and he would use jabs and crosses, and he'd watch Muhammad Ali and even grappling. So if you remember Enter the Dragon, there's a scene there where he's wearing gloves and basically doing what kind of looks like MMA and wins with a straight arm lock. So he was way, way ahead of his time. And who knows what, he died when he was 33 in 1973, long before he ever had a chance to see Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or any of that. But I like to think had he lived, he would have been a huge advocate for MMA.
But I don't understand exactly what you mean by it needs to be a sport.
Well, it doesn't need to be a sport. So you can have an alive martial art, or you can train them with aliveness and not have anything to do with a sport in the sense of performing in front of an audience. But what I meant was the arts that maintained aliveness, that still have that sense of aliveness and are real, all have the fact that they also have sporting aspects. That's part of them. And the reason, and that's why I think they stayed alive, is because there was that level of competition, and when you compete, you don't want to lose. So in judo, I'll give you a classic example, and you have traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, and you have judo. And judo evolved from Japanese jiu-jitsu. Kano modified it and turned it into a sport at the turn of the century. But judo is still very functional, right? If you grab a judo guy and you're wearing a jacket or something like that and you're not very skilled, you're probably going to go for a ride, and he can drop you right on your head if he wants to. They're highly skilled at that aspect of it. They never lost that level of reality, at least as it relates to the throws. And the reason is because they've always had a competition for that. There's always been a competition. Whereas Japanese jiu-jitsu, they took all the competition out, essentially. There's no sporting competition whatsoever. And very quickly it evolved into a set of dead patterns. So one of the other good ways to tell whether or not you're looking at bullshit martial art or functional martial art is watch the feeder, not the demonstrator. Don't watch the person that's doing the demonstration, that's doing the cool fighting move. Watch the person they're doing it against. And more often than not, you're going to see somebody go like this, and then they freeze. Or they swing a stick like this, and then they stop. And then the other person does all the cool moves, right? But what it's not is, hey, put some gloves on somebody, come try and hit me in the head, and then they do the move. And that's a dead giveaway every time. Does that make sense?